This is going to be my NXT Halloween Havoc thoughts video. If you've seen my previous videos, you know how this works now, so let's not waste any time and jump straight in with the opening contest of Javon Evans and Leon Slater versus La Parka and Mr. Iguana. In this opening match, we've got an NXT star, a TNA star, going up against two AAA stars, which is incredible to think in this day and age, like WWE working with all these other two companies and actually giving them time on a pay-per-view or PLE. This was a really fun match. I think it was more of a, right, let's just get the crowd excited for the whole night and just enjoy and have some fun. For me, the standout of the match was La Parka, really giving a shine on him, giving him a lot of time against Evans and Slater. Obviously, then we got some good comedy from Mr. Iguana that the crowd loved, and both Slater and Evans played up their roles very well in it. And yeah, it was just a fun back and forth match with the AAA guys getting the upper hand at some point, and then it flipping back to Evans and Slater. And then in the end, the finish came when something seemingly didn't go right. It seemed like there was a bit of miscommunication as both Evans and Mr. Iguana looked to hit some sort of crossbody, and they both did it at the same time and completely missed it, and you had La Parka waiting on the apron almost like he was ready to intervene and so it looked like things got a bit miscommunicated, but luckily they were able to get back on track for the finish, which saw Evans take out La Parka, only for Slater to hit a Swanton 450 on Mr. Iguana to win. So yeah, fun match. Afterwards, we got the NXT North American Championship match of Ethan Page versus Dr. Wagner Jr. in a Day of the Dead match. Definitely a solid match, and out of the two no disqualifications types of matches we've got this evening, this was the better one for me. I really enjoyed it. Much like how La Parka for me was the standout in the opening match, this match really gave a spotlight on Dr. Wagner Jr., who out the gates took control, and praise must be given to Ethan Page because I do really like him, but he was bumping like hell for Dr. Wagner, and it was just a lot of fun. And once weapons got brought into it, Page was able to get back in the rhythm and start getting some offense in. But then it wasn't really until the crowd was chanting for tables and Wagner Jr. brought in a table that it really the match changed for Ethan, and that with him knocking Wagner Jr. throat first onto the table leg, which looked for a very visually nasty thing because obviously it's your throat and that. But it's also at this point when I only noticed, and I don't actually know how, Ethan got busted open in this match. But because he was wearing face paint, you really can't tell that he was busted unless you really paid attention and go, that's not paint, that's blood. So I don't exactly know, but from this point on it was really good. The match got a bit back and forth, and then the match really, in the third act of the match, really built up with Ethan ripping Wagner Jr.'s mask pretty much completely off, tore it open, and that, by doing that, enraged Wagner Jr. and really gave him a comeback. And there were some really close falls where it did seem like Wagner Jr. might actually win, But in the end, though, the finish came after a bit more back and forth, with both men battling up on the top rope, with the table that had been introduced at the bottom, ready for one of them to go through. But Ethan was just able to escape after turning the mask around and then throwing some powder into Wagner Jr.'s face. Able then to hit a twisted smile off the top rope through the table to retain his North American Championship. Like I said, definitely a solid match and the best no DQ match out of the two matches that are on this card. Following the men's North American Championship match, we got the NXT Women's Championship match of Blake Monroe versus Zarya, which sadly, due to injury, the current North American champion, Sol Ruka, was unable to defend her championship against Blake, which was the scheduled match for Halloween Havoc. Instead, in her place, Zarya has volunteered in defending the championship against Blake. So, fingers crossed, it's a speedy recovery for Sol and that, and it's a shame that she had to miss out on this match. That being said, though, she was still at ringside, which plays into both a specific moment in the match and the finish, which I'll get to. The match itself, it was good. The crowd, though, was definitely quiet. I wonder if it was maybe because this was right after the Day of the Dead match, and they had just been so excited with that match that they were a bit tired out. But by the end, they were actually into it, but it did take them a little while. The match starts off with Monroe really out the gates, taking it to Zarya, targeting her left shoulder, which becomes the whole crux of the match of Monroe using any other offense going towards the left shoulder of Zarya. This leads to Zarya obviously making a comeback, but obviously it all looks bad because of the left shoulder and she can't use the strength. It's also around this period of time that you can tell the crowd aren't into the match because they start chanting for Booker T on commentary. And I don't believe I've actually really mentioned this in any of my other NXT Thoughts videos. Booker T is the worst commentator currently in wrestling. He is awful. I can't stand him. It is painful listening to him. So the fact that the crowd was that found this match, they were invested in this match, that they were so bored, they were so ready to just chant for Booker T, did annoy me, because the match itself was good. Zarya obviously made a comeback on the outside. This led to her running into the steel steps before Blake moved out of the way and dislocated her shoulder. So again, working over that injured shoulder has led to Blake obviously getting the upper hand now because Zarya's injured, only for Sol, who is obviously Zarya's friend and that, to push her into the ring post to pop her shoulder back in. By doing that and the adrenaline, Zarya really kicks up and gets a really good comeback, starts coming back, and this leads to the finish where, again, it spills to the outside with Blake trying to escape Zarya, running away, and in doing so, accidentally bumps into Sol, knocking her over, and because of that, Zarya's focus shifts from Blake to her friend Sol, allowing Blake to hit a glamour shot DDT on the outside, roll her in, and hit a second one for the victory. And your new NXT North American Women's Champion, Blake Monroe. And this doesn't come as a surprise to me because For me, it was only a matter of time that before she won one of the 2 championships in NXT, and it's going to be great to see what she does in the future. Afterwards, we got the NXT Women's Championship match of JC Jane versus Tatum Paxley. This was my favourite match of the night for me. Really good. Everything in this match worked. The crowd were very much into it from the get-go. They were awake and ready for this. They were so behind Tatum, wanting her to win. And this match really just told a really good story for me. JC obviously starting off very cocky and arrogant, with an arrogant attitude and that, as the reigning champ, not taking Tatum as seriously. But this is where, as I said, this is going to be the downfall of JC. But as Tatum takes full advantage, fighting back and getting a lot of offense and some really close pinfalls at some point. But the tide turns when JC hits a catapult underneath the ring apron into the actual ring itself for a very brutal shot. This obviously gives JC time to really build up some heat, working over Tatum, getting the crowd behind Tatum, and that. And then we get Tatum making a brief comeback before JC hits a top rope neck breaker. It's at this point that the culling and Fatal Influence both get involved in the match. Brawling on the outside, and the ref ejects all of them from ringside and that, setting up the finish. But before that, we get some really good roll-up, back and forth, close call roll-ups between both. And Tatum getting a super close pinfall off a rolling encore and hitting a 450, which the crowd legit bought as the finish. And that. But then the finish itself came when the culling and Fatal Influence came back down, started brawling, except for Izzy Dance to be in the ring with the championship, staring off with Tatum, looking like she might hit her, but never did anything because JC laid her out, allowing Tatum then to hit the cemetery drive for the win and to become your new NXT Women's Champion in a beautiful moment with the crowd loving the fact that Tatum has won and that. But the thing is that's more interesting, obviously, yeah, great for Tatum that she's won and that, like I said, my favourite match of the night. What was Izzy's plan? What was she thinking in this moment? Was she trying to help Tatum? Was she trying to cost Tatum the match? And hopefully we'll find out more in the near future. In our semi-main event of the evening, we have the NXT Tag Team Championship match of the Hardy Boys versus Dark State in a Broken Rules match. Now, before I actually get on into the match itself, I do want to mention Jeff Hardy's face paint, which was a beautiful tribute to the late Bray Wyatt, as his face paint was Fiend inspired, which was a very nice touch, especially at a show called Halloween Havoc with a spooky character like the Fiend. So yeah, just wanted to mention that before getting into the match itself, which I really struggled to get into, and I love the Hardys. It's difficult to watch them now that they're older, especially when they take certain bumps, which I'll get to later in the match. But this was a Broken Rules match, which meant anything goes. So all 4 members of Dark State were legal, which is not right. So it's a handicap match, which is okay, but it's going to be hard to get into it because, you know, you're just going to be, you have that feeling, oh, they're going to win. If they don't, they look like idiots because they've got the full numbers advantage. That kind of happens like at the start with the Hardys getting worked over before they grab weapons and even it up for a bit, with them focusing. The main two of members of Dark State in the match are Dion and Osiris, who are the first two to really brawl with the Hardys and that. But the thing is, after brawling with Osiris and Dion for a bit, and Jeff putting Osiris through a table with a suplex, they start brawling with James and Sugars, which is fine, but then this leads to the Hardys putting James and Sugars through two tables with a leg drop off a ladder and a swanton bomb off of the top rope. And that's them out of the match completely. So what was the point in making them, all four members, legal? You could achieve the same thing, the same goal, but just have them run down. What's the point of making them all members if that's all they're going to do and they're going to be out of the match the rest of the match? So yeah, that's one of the reasons why I really just couldn't get into this match, was because how they played around with the who's legal and who's not. But once the match got going, it's your typical Hardy Boys plunder match. You got Osiris and Dion were back in the match. They worked over the Hardys for a bit before the Hardys got whatever they could with weapons, fighting back. But obviously, the younger talent and stars fighting off, and this leads to both Hardys taking some bad bumps that I'm sorry, I love the Hardy. I just can't watch and take bumps like this anymore because it's too painful to watch. Matt gets hit with a body slam onto a ladder, which looks painful enough, and Jeff gets speared through the barricade itself, which is okay. But then, in the biggest spot of the match, Jeff hits a swanton off of a huge ladder, aiming for Osiris on the table, only to miss Osiris get out of the way and Jeff just go right through the table. Now this is in 2025 and it's uncomfortable. Yeah? About 7 years ago, when Jeff was feuding with Shinsuke over the US title, there was I don't remember off the top of my head the actual pay-per-view, but the match was where Jeff attempted to hit a swanton bomb on Nakamura on the apron. Nakamura moved, and Jeff landed back first on the apron, and I found that really brutal and very hard to watch. So, fast forward 7 years later, yeah, this is just like, why? Why are you still doing this to yourselves? You should be on the wind down of your career. Don't take bumps like this. But that being said, though, this leads to the finish of the match where Matt gets put in the Tree of Woe, allowing Jeff to be the victim in the end, with Dark State laying him out, putting him through a table off of a Doomsday device, with Dion coming off the ladder on the outside, putting Jeff through the table for the victory, and to regain the tag team championships that they lost at Not Invasion Showdown from the Hardys. So yeah, like I said, it was an okay match. I just really struggled to get into it, I should say. In our main event of the evening for Halloween Havoc, it's the NXT Championship match of Ricky Saints versus Trick Williams, and this was a really good match. My second match of the night for me. It's the women's match, NXT title match, then this. Very hot open for this match, with Trick jumping Saints right after the bell before Ricky was ready, leading to Trick really being the main person in this match to get a lot of offense. Ricky really was the underdog in this match, which was good because it's always good to have sometimes having that champion be the underdog, building up to their comeback and that. Very early on, Trick teases putting Saints through the announce table, but Saints doesn't allow it and gets away. This would set up what would later to be happen before the finish. This leads to a bit of back and forth between the two, with each of them taking it in turns to showboat in front of the other, taunting them and everything before carrying on. And this again then leads to a bit of brawling on the outside, and that before getting back in the ring, and for me, really smooth transition. Ricky attempts a Hurricane Rana, but Trick turns it into a Boston Crab very smoothly. But yeah, Ricky is able to escape. Again, Trick starts working him over yet again, and this fires Saint up with every shot that Ricky's taking, and this leads to, like I said, the spot of them back on the outside with Trick about to use trying to use the championship as a weapon, but Ricky stopping that, only to be put through the announce table with an uranagi, rolled into the ring for a trick shot for a very close 2 count, and the crowd did kind of buy into it. It was going to be the finish. But Saints, just like how against Oba, just wouldn't give up. And this leads to the finish of the match, where it seems like Trick's going for something with Ricky on his shoulders, only for Ricky to escape, hit a spear, followed that up with a tornado DDT for the win to retain his NXT Championship in a solid main event match, ending the show. In conclusion, I thought NXT Halloween Havoc 2025 was a decent show altogether, and another case that NXT is just good at what they're doing and is putting out consistently good to decent shows every month. Having 3 big title changes and 2 of them being new, brand new champions in Blake Monroe and Tatum Paxley. Obviously, Dark State recapturing the NXT championships after losing them to the Hardys was a big thing. 2 no DQ matches, with one of them being a bit better than the other, like I said, but there's still 2 big matches and a really solid main event ending the show. But like I said, for me, it was the NXT Women's Championship match that stood out. I definitely enjoyed this spooky PLE from NXT and hope to see you soon. Okay, bye.